Hey guys, welcome back to another video of me driving and giving you guys some stories. This video, I'm really going to touch on why you shouldn't date other service members. And this is, again, from my personal experience. I don't recommend it just because I've seen a lot of people get burned. I've been burned. It's not ideal, okay? And honestly, you can wait it out. Like if you're trying to settle down, and another service member is not the way to do it. So, all right, well, let's get into it. I'm definitely gonna tell you guys some stories. I'll just jump in with my couple stories, and I'll give you guys some perspective. I dated both enlisted and officer, and if you guys don't know, I got out as a captain, did about 7 years in the service. A supply officer, been at 3 different duty stations, 2 different bases. Did a deployment to the 31st MU. Did my MOS school in North Carolina, Camp Johnson. Pretty standard, just pretty standard routine, like what you go through as your first 2 tours. So in the service, and first upbo at least. Well, during that time, at my first duty station, I did date 2 corporals who had already transitioned out. I was so young that I didn't really want to risk getting kicked out for fraternization, getting in trouble for any of that shit. So once they got out, I kind of pursued that. But both of those females that I dated had been around. Like they were ran through, and I don't know, for me, I knew that, but I didn't care, and I kind of put that shit aside because I was like, you know what, like maybe they changed or whatever. That wasn't the case. I would say like one of them was going through a divorce, and like, I don't know, there was just too much fucking drama. But before I started dating them, when they had transitioned out, they had like stories that they were married, and both of them, right? And one of them was married and was hooking up with other guys, like at that time, other service member, not just any guys, and not like at home, like on base and shit, and at the unit, you know. So I don't know, just like after that, I was like, you know what, I'm not gonna date anybody who is a service member, and I broke that rule twice, and fucking shame on me for that. All right, so I had a roommate. I had 2 roommates when I was living in San Clemente. I was stationed at 2-4. My roommates were 2 other officers, another suppo and a lago. Well, my friend, she had other friends that were officers and some that were civilians. And the officer that she had, her friend, was a lieutenant, and she had a boyfriend, but so like I didn't pursue her, and actually I liked her other friends, so the one that wasn't a Marine. And I ended up dating the officer because she broke up with her boyfriend, so we started dating. And I don't know, I feel like I've always been like, you know, never forget where you came from, humble, like kind of to myself. And she got promoted to first lieutenant, and if you guys don't know, when you get promoted, they have a wet down. You'll have a wet down where you take all your friends out and you buy them drinks, and up to like an amount of whatever your new pay is gonna be. I didn't do any wet downs for my promotions. I'd rather spend my money on things that are gonna advance my future, which I now have multiple houses. I'm making way more money than I ever did in the Marine Corps. So just some food for thought for you guys. But anyways, I told her, I was like, look, I will be your DD, designated driver. I won't drink. I'll drive, and I'll make sure, like, you know, you get home safe, you have a good time with your friends. Some of her friends were my friends, so it didn't bother me. Well, at the end of the night, on our way home at like 2 a.m, she starts to like tell me that I'm conceited, and I'm egotistic, and I'm like self-centered, and just a bunch of shit that, like, I don't know, like if that's the vibe I gave off or whatever the case was. But I just, you know, I ignored that shit. She was drunk. I was just gonna, like, we're just gonna go home and go to sleep. And she kept going on, and it kind of got like really disrespectful. So, I was like, you know what, I'm just going to take her home. And like 5 minutes later, after like 5 minutes of silence, because I wasn't going to argue with her, I just was like, whatever. I like changed course to take her home, and she's like, where are we going? And I was like, taking you home. And she was like, I don't want to go home, I want to go home with you. And I was like, no, fuck that. I was like, you've been disrespectful as fuck after me giving my night to ensure you have a good time with your friends and, for your promotion and all that. So, big ordeal. Anyways, next day, she says she didn't fucking remember anything she said. Well, I did, and I don't know if you guys probably feel the same way, but when people drink and they start to say shit, that's usually truly how they feel. And so, like, I just wasn't gonna, like, involve myself with somebody who thought like that and acted that way, especially when they were intoxicated. Even more shame on you kind of thing. So, anyways, actually a few weeks later, she got back with her ex-boyfriend, who was another Marine officer, and I think they ended up getting married or something like that, and I think they have a kid now. Just weird shit, like, I don't know, guys. Be careful. My other story I'll tell you guys is, I was stationed in Quantico, and I started dating my coworker. I had known her for 2 years, both single at that time. Well, at least I thought she was single. We had been good friends for like 2 years. Best friends. I would say best friends. Definitely a person that I could confide in, and, really sad to see that relationship go down, and especially the way it did. But, I don't know. I was just having bad luck with women, and so she was like, maybe you should date somebody else other than a Latina. Well, anyways, I don't know if she implied that was her, but I asked her if she'd like to date, and we just, like, we were hooking up at first, and she wanted something more serious, and I was down for it, because I really did like her. And about 5 months into, like, dating and stuff, at this point I've known her for almost 2.5 years, and turns out she had a boyfriend of 3 years. And the crazy thing is, she had received orders to get stationed down to Richmond, Virginia for school, which is going to be about 5 months, and then she's going to go to California for her next duty stations. I'm from LA. I was transitioning out from that duty station, so that summer I was going to be back in California. So we're like, we kind of could make it work. Even though I had told myself I wasn't going to do long distances. I don't do long distances from bad experience from my first year in the Marine Corps. Not get into that shit. But so I ended up dating her when she was stationed down there, Richmond, Virginia, and from Quantico, Virginia, you're talking about an hour and a half, 2 hour drive, max, with traffic. But one weekend I had gone down there, and I think it was around February time frame. I'd gone down there because we would take turns seeing each other, so I had driven down there that weekend, and we're going out to dinner. And while she was getting ready, I had seen her phone ring, and I like kind of leaned over, saw the name on the phone, and I had recognized it before because I had seen that name on her phone and on her TV, on her like Netflix account. And I was like, well, that's kind of weird, because I know that wasn't her brother, and it wasn't her sister, and it wasn't her dad or her mom. Why? Because I've met her mom, her dad, her stepdad, and hadn't met her siblings yet. But so I already kind of had like some like, hey, this is kind of like a red flag. Like my spider senses are tingling, right? Well, on our way to dinner, he calls again, and we took her car because I had driven down there, so it was just easier. His name pops up on the dashboard, and I was like, and she hangs up, and I was like, who was that? And she's like, nobody, don't worry about it, like, I'm gonna cut off communication. And that already tells me, like, it's some other guy, she's probably seeing him as well, or like, I don't know, she's probably cheating on me, whatever the case may be. Well, I didn't bring it up after dinner. After dinner, we get back to her place. I sat down on the couch. She's like, you're going to tell me everything. Turns out, I was the one she was cheating on with, because she had been with him for 3 years, guys. 3 years. freaking crazy. And this story gets more fucking juicy. Why? Because turns out that this guy is her boyfriend at the time, was also a Marine. She was a captain at the time. He was a sergeant. And she had met him when he was a Lance Corporal when at her first duty station in Japan. And it was her junior Marine. So now this shit gets kind of funky, because this fucking kid was stationed at OCS in Quantico, Virginia. And I don't know, guys. This shit gets fucking insane. It's too much for me to like wrap my head around. But I end up giving her an ultimatum because I really liked her, and she maybe like he was holding something against her, and he was apparently, ultimately. So I told her, I was like, look, if you call him, end everything right now, cut off all communication, I will work through this with you. If not, I will walk out the door and you'll never hear from me again. She ends up making the call. Calls the guy, tells him she doesn't want anything. She's like crying, and he's like, there's another guy, isn't there, whatever. And he was like, well, he starts threatening her and saying that like, well, he's like, after this, I'm going to send some emails, I'm going to make some phone calls, I'm going to ruin your career. And I was like, give me the phone. I was like, give me the phone. Because like, fuck that. Like, that's some whack ass fucking pussy ass shit to hold somebody hostage in a relationship because like they're breaking up with you, whatever. Anyways, I talked to this fucking guy, and she was like, she didn't want me to talk to him, but I was like, look, man, stop being a fucking pussy. I was like, you have just as much to lose as her, as she does, right? Like, if you out her, like, I'll make sure you fucking go down too, bro. Like, and ultimately, like, nothing ended up happening. I don't think he ended up doing anything. I think I don't know if they ended up getting back together or whatnot. She probably still has contact with him, whatever. At the end of the day, she had cheated on him multiple times in that time, like 3 years worth, and he actually caught her at one point, because he brought it up. He was like, not this again, right? And I was like, well, dude, you're fucking dumb. First of all, you gave her a pass. I was like, dude, if a woman cheats on you and you give her a pass, like, she already disrespected you. She's already showing you that she doesn't respect you. And look, she fucking did it more than once. I met another guy she dated during that time when she was supposedly in that relationship. Shit, I was even one of those guys that she dated and was hooking up with while on that relationship. I thought I was gonna get a relationship out of that, and turns out I was the side piece. Just crazy shit, guys. Things that you encounter, but it's more common and it's more frequent in the service or in colleges. Why? Because you're around other people your age, people that you interact with more on a daily basis. You start to build bonds and connections with. It's all, that's just kind of how it all happens. You guys have a lot of things in common. You're both service members, very similar goals, right? Anyways, that was that. After that, I was like, you know what, no more service members for me. There's other stories where, like, I had a friend who dated a staff sergeant. I have another friend who dated a lance corporal as a lieutenant. You just never know who you're going to connect with and who you're going to vibe with and where it's going to lead to, right? Honestly, in my opinion, if they aren't a direct report or they're not in the same unit, then who fucking cares, right? Like, there's no direct influence that could happen. Like, there's no way that, like, I can be influential in your evaluation or to another officer or somebody that you report to. Like, it's not, and that shit doesn't really happen. So I don't know. I think the fraternization rules, I think it's kind of outdated. Like, I don't think it should really be a thing. If you're not in the same unit. If you're in the same unit, it's a little different. I would say kind of like, I don't know, I would gauge that definitely hardcore. But if you're not in the same unit, then it probably doesn't really matter, right? Whether or not you guys date. Junior enlisted, senior enlisted, junior officers, senior officers, whatever the case may be. So I don't know. I definitely want to get your guys' perspective. on the whole fraternization policy in the service, whether or not like you should be able to date different ranks, whether you're an officer to enlisted and enlisted to an officer. Definitely want to hear you guys' perspective. I know I gave you guys a couple stories of mine as far as why I don't date service members regardless now. You know, just because like you're more likely to find somebody that has been through quite a bit, and I don't know, guys. For me, you're better off dating outside of the service and outside of the cities that are close to the bases, right? As I said earlier, like if you're stationed in Pendleton, you don't want to date anybody in San Clemente or in Oceanside. Why? Or Vista. Because all of their fucking service members are dating the same fucking people, same pool of people. It's not like there's a whole bunch of people moving into fucking Oceanside, okay, aside from other service members and their families. So, if you're in like, and actually, if you're in Pendleton, anything south of fucking Pendleton, I wouldn't date. Why? Because you got the Navy bases in Coronado, Miramar. Like, I just would stay away from all of that if you're gonna get stationed there, or you know, are looking to date in that area. If you're in North Carolina, I wouldn't even date at all. Brother, wait till you fucking get out of that area, because that is some of the grimiest shit people I've ever met there. A strip club with that everybody goes to, like that's also not, yeah, it's gross. Anyways, if you're in Virginia and you're stationed in Quantico, I wouldn't date anybody from Quantico south to Richmond, and I wouldn't date anybody up to DC. So Alexandria, Arlington, DC, those areas, bro, there so many military bases in those areas, so many service members. Like, you're gonna end up finding somebody on Hinge, on Tinder, or if you fucking meet people now the traditional ways where you go up to them in town and then they think you're a creep. Probably not. You're probably gonna use a dating app. They've probably dated a few service members already. If not one, definitely more than one. All right, so just be careful, be cognizant of that stuff. That's my 2 cents. I definitely want to get your guys' perspective on the fraternization policy, dating other service members. I want to know, and I want to hear your guys' stories about other service members, if you guys are willing to share. And definitely want to know about other cities and towns that you should not mess around with if you're a service member getting stationed in that area, just because of like the people and the ones that have ran through by other service members. Give me guys' thoughts in the comments, descriptions. Give me a thumbs up if you guys want to hear more of these stories, and I'll definitely get some people and bring them into the show, and hopefully they'll share their stories with you guys. All right, guys, have a good rest of your day. Pulling up to school now.